Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 1 of season 3 of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. called Laws of Nature. And I gotta say, this is a really solid episode. I've seen more than a few people say online that it seems like S.H.I.E.L.D. feels like a new show. They really seem to have found a very firm and solid grasp of what they want to do with this show. And this episode does kind of feel like something where if you haven't really been watching the show, you can come in and they lay out the information you would need to have a reasonably good grasp of what's going on. All right, Shield, they're yeah. Well, there's no point in me recapping. If you're watching the show at this point, you've probably been watching the other seasons. So anyway, let's just kind of get right into things and what's going on with everybody. So it's obviously been a while since the end of season 3, and now they're really getting into the consequences of the Terrigenesis agent getting out there into the general population via the fish oil pills. Now, I do like that they acknowledge that there was a recall on those pills, but of course, not all the fish oil pills made it. So I do like that that's a nice little bit of realism. Yes, a recall of fish oil pills is a totally believable thing and totally something that S.H.I.E.L.D. would do in order to keep people from freaking out too badly. And the way they present Joey, who, as best I can tell, is probably not any sort of character from the comics, is done really nicely. Obviously, I'm sure some people out there are really happy that S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to have a gay character on the show. We haven't really seen too much in that direction. And Joey is presented as just being a pretty normal guy who just happens to be gay, which, that's pretty much the right way to play this sort of thing. And he's also presented as, a really nice person, and his reaction to the whole situation is exactly how most people would react. During the whole time when he's bouncing around the streets trying to get away from the Rosalind Price's people, he's trying not to hurt anyone. He's freaking out, but he's going really out of his way to try and not hurt anyone, which really, of course, speaks well of his character. And am I the only one who spotted what I'm pretty sure was intended to be the Space Needle in the background, like that shot with Sky with her hand out, her Daisy, I guess I should say. She's not really going by Sky anymore. With her arm out, using her powers, you can kind of see what looks like the Space Needle in the background. So I guess this is sort of to imply that that part of the episode was happening in Seattle, which is kind of cool. Seattle's a nice town, from what I understand. I've never been there. But, I've watched a lot of Frasier, so... yeah, so Joey's obviously mostly a setup. Oh, darn it, there's a gnat flying around here, for God's sake. Kind of a setup character at the moment, but definitely somebody with a lot of potential. And he does have pretty cool powers. He apparently seems to have the ability to melt metals within, I think they said, like a 9-yard radius. That's pretty good stuff. I mean, he's able to completely melt the guns on some of the guys who are trying to attack him just by freaking out. So, Joey has a lot of potential. Let's see. So, since we mentioned her, let's talk about some of the new characters who are introduced this time around. And the other big important one is Rosalind Price. Also, as best as I understand it, not a character from the comics. Her people, what is it, ACTU or Advanced whatever. They're not. They don't really seem to be analogous to anybody in the comics, although their focus on extraterrestrials does sort of seem to imply a little bit that they might in some way either evolve into or even perhaps be related to S.H.I.E.L.D. That's the Sentient Worlds Observation and Recon Division, I think. Basically like S.H.I.E.L.D. for outer space stuff. And of course, the big person over there is Abigail Brand, who very cool character created by Joss Whedon, who I can totally see them bringing into S.H.I.E.L.D. at some point in the future. That would be very awesome if they did that. But I don't think Rosalind Price is meant to be Abigail Brand. Abigail Brand is probably somebody around Sky's age, Daisy's age, a little bit young, a little bit older perhaps. But anyway, Price and Coulson bounce off of each other really well. That scene in the subway car shows that they're very well matched to each other in terms of cunning, and I didn't really like that bit where they sort of implied that she might be giving the president orders. Whatever shows or books or whatever do that sort of thing, it's like, you're gonna have to give me some really big evidence to believe that this person is that powerful. It always just sort of seems like basically lazy writing. Lazy writing. I mean, you can establish, I think, with a lot less heavy-handedness that someone is very powerful and influential. Frankly, I kind of have imagined that probably Price just delivered a report to the president and he cribbed a few lines from that because it sounded good. And she was just sort of overselling herself in order to throw Coulson off balance. Because frankly, that makes a whole hell of a lot more sense. And did you notice they brought back the actor who played President Ellis in Iron Man 3? And given the events that are going to be happening in Captain America Civil War, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw that fellow again. I can't recall his name off the top of my head because I can never remember actors' names. But anyway, that was definitely a nice touch. I did not expect that. So, let me see. That's really about all I have to say about Price. So let's get in on what's going on with everybody else. May is off, kind of still on her vacation. So Hunter is basically just itching to go out and put Ward in the ground, but he does have the sense to sort of wait until Bobby's back on her feet, back on 100%. Because let's face it, Bobby owes Ward some payback just as much as Hunter does. And I do like how this is really a good sign in their relationship. He's got a lot of good reasons to want Ward dead, but Hunter's a smart guy. He's not the sort of guy who's going to go off half cocked, and he understands that Ward is not somebody to be underestimated. Taking his time, figuring out where Ward is, and having Mockingbird as backup or his partner in that whole situation, that makes a lot more sense. That would vastly increase his probability of success, and Hunter is smart enough to realize it. And I do like that interplay between him and Bobby, where he says, like, look, except we might as well just make this whole thing official because, we're talking to each other, we're sleeping together, we've reconnected on an emotional level, why not? And, Bobby is, of course, pretty reluctant to go down there again. So I do like that. Both of them make reasonable points. And that scene with her talking about him about the ring and all of that, I mean, that was good stuff. It rang very true emotionally. And on shows that deal with the fantastic on such a level as S.H.I.E.L.D., those character moments that really ring true, those are the things that really sell the show. Not just the crazy special effects, which are cool and all, but it's those very human moments that are really the key. And I did like how they mentioned Bobby having a degree in biology. I vaguely remember there being something like that about her character in the comics. But Mockingbird in the comics is not a character I know super well, so don't quote me on that. But I do think that was kind of a nice touch that she has a background in the sciences, but can kind of go out there and just be somebody who's just one step behind May. I mean, look at Fitz. He's somebody he's never going to be anywhere near Mockingbird or May. But this episode, look at how much he's upgraded. He goes in there and he completely by himself handles a group of terrorists. I mean, this is a long, long way from where we met good old Leo back in season 1. And just that freak out he has at the end, it was just like, oh my god. I mean, wow, that's something else. So yeah, nice stuff there with Fitz. And I did really enjoy that conversation that he had with Coulson, where Coulson's like, "Look, man, you need to just accept it, get it together." But we have seen that Fitz is not a man who gives up easily. And hey, he apparently was right. I mean, the monolith did transport Simmons through somewhere in time, or where I should say space and time, or whatever. She's somewhere on some sort of alien world, and the whole blue tinge to wherever it is that she is. It sort of makes me think of how the Inhumans were actually had their city Attilan for a while in a place called the Blue Area on the moon. It was a place that was literally on the moon, except it had air and sort of like in a force field or something like that. Then stuff happened and he came back to Earth and I'm like, okay, whatever. So I don't think it's actually like Simmons is actually on the moon as we know it. We saw the sky, obviously not the Earth. So she's somewhere out in space. But I think that blue tinge might have been a little bit of a nod to the whole blue area of the moon thing. And of course, the Inhumans were created by the Kree, blue being a rather important color to the Kree. So I kind of think that might be a little bit of a nod there. Let me see. Anything else to say about Simmons? Was there something else? Nope. Nope, nothing else. Let's see. What else do we have? Who else do we have to talk about? Coulson this episode. I do like how they say things like that he's on his third hand since the whole incident happened. Just sort of a shout out to just sort of dangerous life that Coulson leads. And I love how the hand is even like still holding that crystal. It's boxed up in the lab. That's great. And just as great is that Coulson apparently has the axe that was used to cut his hand off, framed up on his wall. That is just such a perfectly Coulson touch. But yeah, Coulson is again just being himself, dealing with the situation as best he can. Still, I kind of like how they like Price even mentions to him like, yeah, the Avengers still think you're dead, and I love it. I at this point, I both love and hate how they just won't acknowledge that the Avengers should totally know that Coulson is alive at this point. But whatever. Um, yeah. Beyond that, nothing really huge to say about Coulson. Mac seems to have calmed down a little bit. He's not all so much about really being against Inhumans in general, so much as that he's still extremely wary of them, but he has pretty good reason given what happened last season. And he even has good reasons to be pissed off at Lincoln. Yeah, Lincoln's a good guy, but he still was a part of what happened on that ship, and apparently got to walk away from the whole situation scot-free. So it's pretty understandable why that might leave a bad taste in Mac's mouth, especially given how many people from S.H.I.E.L.D. died in that whole situation, like Gonzalez. um, Now, as for Lincoln, though, I don't really have a huge amount to say about him. It really was interesting, though, to see him do such an enormous 180 from him thinking that being an Inhuman was this fortunate thing, this gift, and now he flat out calls it a curse. And he's just like, look, screw this. I just want to go back to my life and be a doctor and help people. And then, S.H.I.E.L.D. comes a calling, and once again, Lincoln's world just completely crashes down around his ears. Like it or not, he and Joey are going to have a lot in common, a lot of things in common to talk about. And I did like how they put that shot in there of the nurse or the other doctor, that lady looking at him and obviously having seen him use his inhuman abilities. And later, she's shown talking to the police. So, yeah, there is no going back to that life for Lincoln. Daisy, I'm gonna try and not call her Sky anymore. Now she's really seems to have found her groove. She's definitely kind of taken some more steps along that sort of path of Agent May. Obviously has picked up quite a lot from Coulson, and really is out there doing an excellent job, really getting Joey to safety, coming in there. Well, she makes a good effort at trying to get him to calm down, but doesn't work, but she tries. And of course, now, thanks to some practice and technology, she's got a good grasp on her powers. She really is, in a way, the poster girl for what Inhumans could contribute to society. But yeah, I have a feeling that well, let's face it, Sky has always been one of the major focal points of the show. Daisy, damn it. So I have a feeling that problems are going to be coming her way. She's already met a wonderful problem, who those of us who read the comics will recognize as the Inhuman Lash, and he's a character who's very new in the comics. He's only been around for about a year, give or take. I've only read a little bit with him, so I don't know a lot about the characters. But as I understand it, his deal is that with all these new Inhumans popping up, and it's the same in the comics, he doesn't feel that most of them are worthy of the power that's been given to them. So he's sort of like, I'm going to track you down and I'm going to judge you. If I decide that you don't deserve those powers that you've been given, I'm just going to kill you. And I've seen some people who were a little confused by this. That when they saw the Price looking at those people with their hearts ripped out, they thought that Price's people had done that. That's not true. Remember the conversation she and Coulson have on the subway car? It's pretty safe to say that's probably Lash's doing. Those were people that he found who were Inhumans, and he decided, yeah, I don't like you, so I'm gonna just like rip out your heart or use my powers to my energy absorption and powers to absorb energy and like redirect it. I think that's what his powers are. That's why Lincoln and Sky, their abilities didn't really work so well against him, but bullets did seem to have some effect. So I think it's sort of like he just sort of like burned their hearts out with his power or whatever. Again, this isn't a character I know terribly well. So yeah, all in all, this is good stuff. I mean, it's really sets the stage for what I'm sure will be a really exciting season. There's so much cool stuff set up for pretty much everybody, and we haven't even gotten to see characters like May and Ward yet, who are bound to be up to interesting things as well. So all in all, guys, yeah, Shield's back. It's looks like it's starting off to be a really strong season, and I think there's every reason in the world to be very excited about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this year. So, with that said, I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.